Assalamu alaikum and assalamu alaikum and hello to my non-Muslim viewers. Today I'm going to be talking about the panel discussion I had recently with Robert M. Price and Richard Carrier. I'm going to be giving my 2 cents or my thoughts on the things that happened during that panel discussion and the future of what I'm going to be doing and why I won't be dealing with Dr. Richard Carrier anymore. All right, so let's begin. The first thing is, I think the panel discussion between me and Robert M. Price and Richard Carrier, I think it went well. There's room for improvement. This is the first event, this is the second event I did. The second event that I financed and produced by myself. The first event was back in October 2016, where Richard Carrier came and I had an interview with him. It's on my YouTube channel. It's called Episode 1, Ehteshaam Gulam's interview with Dr. Richard Carrier, and that was done back in October 2016. So that was like the first event that I sponsored and I financed and everything. So I got Richard Carrier to come and to come to the hotel and everything like that. And his fans also came, and we had a good time in October 2016. So I got to meet a lot of Dr. Carrier's fans after we did the interview. So in the hotel. So he has a lot of let's just say a lot of unique fans. I'll just put it that way. So anyways, in January 13th, 2018, earlier this year, I had a panel discussion with Robert M. Price and Richard Carrier. So instead of doing debates, I'm doing panel discussions and interviews now. So I think it went well. I mean, there's always room for improvement. When you're organizing events, you kind of learn from things as you go on. This event was completely financed and produced by me. So, I'm learning things. I'm learning how to do, events and how to improve, things and how to make events like pretty good and pretty informative to my YouTube audience. So I think it went well. I think I got to meet a lot of Robert M. Price and Richard Carrier fans, but the highlight for me was getting to spend time with Dr. Robert M. Price. Dr. Robert M. Price is a New Testament scholar who was a Christian and then eventually became an atheist, or became, as he describes, a Christian atheist. Robert M. Price is he's a good guy. He's like me in a lot of ways. We're both comic book nerds. We're both comic book fans. We love Batman and Superman and Marvel and stuff like that. So we're big ultra nerds, and we both have like a pretty good action figure collection. So me and Robert M. Price are kind of the same. We're both big nerds, and we both like comic book movies and action figures and all kinds of graphic novels. And we're both fans of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, and we both love Batman v Superman, even though a lot of people hated that movie or didn't like that movie. So we're big comic book fans. We're big comic book movie fans and science fiction fans and Star Wars fans, etc., etc. So me and Robert M. Price are very similar in a lot of ways. We're the same. The only difference is he has a PhD in New Testament studies. And I don't, that's pretty much the only difference between me and him, but we're very much alike in a lot of ways. It's amazing. So I wanted to discuss some of the stuff that I learned from doing these events and things like that, and why me and Dr. Richard Carrier have kind of parted ways. The first thing I learned about these events is these events sometimes can be uncontrolled. That's why, it's important to have security at events and stuff like that, because these days you just can't trust anybody, and it's unfortunate because, there's school shooting. Recently there was a school shooting in Florida and things like that. So, things are kind of getting dangerous out there. So, when you do an event, you kind of have to have security. The only reason why I didn't get security is because, Richard Carrier said, it's not necessary, but, I found out he's actually wrong. There was some issues I was having with some of his fans. So anyways, so it's important to have, if you're doing an event, whether it's a debate or a panel discussion or a wedding or a party or a graduation party or a baby shower or whatever the hell you're planning, whatever the hell you're doing, whatever party you're planning or doing, it's important to have event security, because you want to be safe, and you can't afford to take any risks. So especially in this day and age with Trump and all that, I guess Trump brings out the crazies. So you have to prepare yourself for any kind of dangerous thing or anything like that. So that's why it's very important to have security at events. That's kind of the mistake I made, was not getting security at this event. The next event I do, if I do another event, I don't know if I'll have the time anymore, because I'm working. I'm kind of busy with some personal stuff, and I'm working a lot these days, so I don't think I have the time I honestly don't think I have the time anymore to do another event. But if I do somehow do another event down the road, then I'll definitely get security. So it's very important to have security these days. It's like the number one thing with all the crazies out there and stuff like that. But another thing that I noticed in these events is that a lot of people, they just don't follow any kind of rules. That's kind of surprising to me. Is like how people just don't follow. They just do their own thing. They don't follow any rules, and that kind of pisses me off, that people would just randomly do things without following any kind of guidelines or anything like that. In fact, I had to kick 2 people out of the panel discussion because they were just causing. They didn't buy a ticket. So in the panel before I did the panel discussion, I told people that they need to buy a ticket in order to get in, and some people, they just came without buying a ticket, or they came to me with cash, and they wanted to get into the event. They were like, yeah, we'll give you cash. So I couldn't turn them away. So they, I just let them in. But this caused a problem with some other girl. Some other girl was was saying, why do those people get in? And I was like, well, I couldn't turn them away because they were kind of being aggressive about it, and they were offering me cash. So I just let it slide. But next time I won't be doing that. Next time there'll be security at events, whatever event I do next. Even if I do another debate again, and that seems very, very, very unlikely, there should be security. If there's no security, then I won't go to any event, or I won't plan an event. So that's why it's very important to have security, because you just can't trust anyone these days. There's a lot of problematic people out there. So that's one problem I had with the panel discussion. Now, everything in the panel discussion went the way I wanted it to go. Like the discussion, everything was flowing really well. But the second problem, so there was no problem at the actual event. The only problem was before the event, and my interactions with Dr. Richard Carrier, which I'll be getting to right now. Now, earlier in this video, I said that I won't be having any kind of interactions with or I'll be parting ways with Dr. Richard Carrier. And this is not to, and I want to make something clear here. I'm not trying to belittle Dr. Richard Carrier's scholarship. I'm not trying to say, what I'm not saying is that Richard Carrier is, his scholarship or his arguments against Christianity is wrong, because that's not what I'm saying. In fact, I support, Dr. Richard Carrier's arguments and criticisms against Christianity and scholarship against Christianity and in the New Testament and stuff like that is top notch. I don't have any problems with Dr. Richard Carrier's scholarship and stuff like that. So I think Dr. Richard Carrier is a fine scholar, and he's a good scholar. And he actually has the credentials. He actually has a PhD from Columbia University, so that's no easy feat to accomplish. And he has, and his work against Christianity and New Testament and stuff like that is actually peer-reviewed, so he does have qualifications when it comes to refuting arguments for Christianity or refuting Christian apologetics, etc., etc. So I'm not talking about Richard Carrier's scholarship. That's all good with me. The problem I had there are two problems I have with Richard Carrier, which I told him personally. So I'm not slandering him or I'm not slandering him, because I already told this to him. There are two problems I have with Richard Carrier, and the first problem is his fans. His fans were not. His fans are like crazy, like they're like legitimately crazy, and and this is kind of a problem, because when Richard Carrier comes to any kind of event, he needs two things. He needs his fans, and he needs to sell books. And the reason why he needs his fans is because his fans are the only people who would buy his books, right? So whatever event Dr. Carrier does or goes to, he always sells books, because I guess that's how he makes a living or whatever, and that's fine. I don't have any problems with that. But his fans are probably like one of the craziest and rudest people on earth. I've never, I think even Christian fundamentalists, even Christian, fundamentalist crowds or the Christian audiences, at least, I have problems with, Christian fundamentalist audiences and things like that. But like Dr. Richard Carrier's fans, legitimately don't follow any rules. They just don't they don't follow any rules. They don't have any kind of they have no respect for rules or anything like that. And to be honest, this isn't a problem with this isn't a problem with only atheist audiences and stuff like that. Even Christian audiences are hard to connect to and things like that. They're hard to even Christian audiences don't follow any rules, or at times they lose their respect. The same thing with these people. They were this is the first time I'm dealing with a atheist crowd, and and I did meet some there were some. I had a good time with a lot of them, but some of them were causing, some of Richard Carrier's fans in particular, not Robert M. Price fans, but Richard Carrier fans, were legitimately causing problems at the event, minor problems. I'm not talking nobody brought a gun or anything like that, but they were causing minor problems, and so that's the first problem with I have with Dr. Richard Carrier, is he needs his fans. whatever event he does, whether he does a debate or a discussion or an interview or wherever he goes, he needs his fans and he needs to sell books for a living. So that's kind of a problem with Dr. Robert M. Price. That the opposite is true. Dr. Robert M. Price doesn't need his fans, and he doesn't need to sell books. In fact, the only person who was selling books at my event or my panel discussion was Dr. Carrier, because he needs to do it. That's the only way. I think that's the only way he makes a living, besides teaching some courses online or doing debates or whatever. Another way he makes a living is by writing books and selling books. So whether they're academic monologues or paperback popular books or whatever. So so that's kind of a problem, because Dr. Richard Carrier, he needs his fans, and I don't want to deal with Richard Carrier's fans anymore. Because I think they're legitimately, like, they're problematic. And to be fair, this isn't a problem with Richard Carrier. Even Christian fundamentalists and Christian fans and the Christian audience are also problematic. They're also rude, and they lose their respect too. So I've had problems with both Christian fundamentalist audience and atheist fundamentalist audience. So it doesn't matter what religion they follow. It just, sometimes when you have like a big crowd, some people, they kind of don't follow any rules, or they kind of lose their respect or whatever. So that was kind of the problem. The second problem is it's the second problem I have with Dr. Richard Carrier is that a lot of it's very hard negotiating. It's hard negotiating a proper payment schedule with him. So that's another problem I had with him is he has like very specific payment demands, which I don't really understand. And now I understand that he needs to make a living, and he needs money for to travel and so I understand that, but his negotiating tactics and stuff like that is problematic to me. And the exact opposite is the case with Dr. Robert M. Price. That's another reason why I choose to work with Dr. Robert M. Price over Dr. Richard Carrier, is because Dr. Robert M. Price just, he doesn't really care too much about, payments or any kind of like speaker fees or anything like that. But Dr. Robert M. Price just appreciates whatever you do for him. Like if you want to do an event with him, he'll as long as you pay for his flight and his hotel and whatever, he'll hang out with you and he'll do an event and stuff like that, and he doesn't really need an audience. So that's a good thing about Dr. Robert M. Price. That's why I like Dr. Robert M. Price, is that he's one of the better he's one of the better people. He's not like Richard Carrier. Like, he doesn't need his fans. He doesn't need an audience. He doesn't need a paycheck. But that's the exact opposite with Dr. Richard Carrier. Dr. Richard Carrier needs his fans. He needs a paycheck. He needs to sell books. Robert M. Price doesn't need to sell books. In fact, Robert M. Price had no books of his own at my event. He wasn't interested in selling books or anything. He was just interested in interacting, in talking, communicating, his knowledge, and that was true with Dr. Richard Carrier. Don't get me wrong. Richard Carrier was also, giving out some good knowledge and information against the New Testament and Christianity and stuff like that. But I feel like Dr. Richard Carrier, he needs to make a living doing, selling books or, getting paychecks for events. And I kind of understand that, but so that's another reason why I don't want to work with Dr. Richard Carrier anymore. Because, it's kind of his, it's kind of he demands like too much, he demands too much like money and stuff like that to engage in speaking events and stuff like that. And I certainly understand that he needs to make a living, but I don't think I can, I don't think I can, at this point, I don't think I can, keep paying him to keep coming and doing events and stuff like that. So, maybe I'll have maybe I'll have co-financers in the future to help pay for Dr. Carrier's fees and stuff like that. But till then, I don't see the point in having him and keep paying him for events and stuff like that. So with Robert M. Price, that's kind of the opposite, because Robert M. Price just doesn't care about payments or anything like that. He just wants to share his knowledge, I guess, against the New Testament and stuff like that. Now, there are some rumors about Dr. Richard Carrier that, that some people have been telling me, and, it's all over the internet and stuff like that, that Dr. Richard Carrier is banned from Skepticon. Skepticon is a atheist organization, like an atheist convention, I guess, where they invite like atheist speakers to talk about various topics. So the rumor is that Dr. Richard Carrier is actually banned from Skepticon for sexually harassing girls, or having inappropriate behavior around women and stuff like that. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. And to be honest, I really don't care. I don't care even if Dr. Richard Carrier is guilty of all that stuff. I don't care. I mean, that's his business. That's none of my business. And, even if that stuff is true, it's nobody's business but his. Apparently, there's some kind of rumors going around that, he had some. He was talking to some girl named Amy Frank, and Amy Frank, accused him of having, inappropriate behavior towards her, and touching her when she didn't want him to touch her, and things like that. And of course, Dr. Richard Carrier has already responded to her on his blog. She and Dr. Carrier already he threatened to sue her for defaming his character. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if those accusations against him are true or not. But even if they are true, it doesn't matter, because it's none of my business. I mean, the only person who should be worrying about Carrier's conduct and stuff like that and behavior or Dr. Richard Carrier, because that's his business. That's like nobody's business but his own. Like, that's his own personal business. And just, why should I care about that stuff? It has nothing to do with me. Obviously, I'm not in contact with Amy Frank or any of those other people, any of those other women that have accused him of, having inappropriate behavior towards them. So I just don't care about that. That's Dr. Richard Carrier's personal life. I think, Dr. Richard Carrier also drinks a lot of alcohol. Me and Dr. Robert M. Price don't drink alcohol, so and that's fine. I mean, I don't care about Richard Carrier's personal life. If Richard Carrier likes drinking alcohol, that's fine. Let him do it. I don't care. I mean, that has nothing to do with me. Same thing with his. Some people have accused him of having multiple girlfriends or something like that. I think he has like 20 girlfriends or something like that. But that's fine. Like, I don't care. That's his own personal life. Why do I care about Dr. Carrier's personal life? I don't discuss anything personal with him, and he doesn't discuss anything personal with me. So, like, I don't care about his personal life, and I'm sure he doesn't care about my personal life. So, we'll just leave it at that. So, people accusing Dr. Richard Carrier of, being sexually inappropriate and stuff like that. Well, everybody's got their own personal problems. Everyone's got their own personal life. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's got their own, issues to deal with. Now, whether those rumors against him that he's actually, that Skepticon and other atheist events, banned him for being inappropriate with women, whether those allegations are true or not, I don't care. I mean, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me. Like, why should I care about that? Yeah, and even if those allegations are true, it doesn't disprove Dr. Carrier's scholarship. I mean, that's just his own personal doings and stuff like that. So Dr. Carrier is, I don't care about his personal life, just like I don't care about David Wood's personal life. David Wood tried to kill his father with a hammer, and his own mom put him in a mental hospital. Now you might be saying, well, you're just making things personal with him, but I'm not. Those are facts. That's a fact. David Wood, he did try to kill his father with a hammer, and his mom put him in a mental hospital. So David Wood has legitimate he's been institutionalized for violent behavior, and this is a problem. So David Wood has some mental problems, or he's psychologically, there's something not right with him. That's not the case with Dr. Richard Carrier, because all those allegations, they could be true against him, or they could be false. But any way you look at it, that's his personal life. I mean, why should we care about his personal life? What he does with his personal life is his business. It's none of ours. So I think we should just drop that whole thing. So yeah, but overall, I had a good time with Robert M. Price and Richard Carrier, but I think me and Richard Carrier are just going to part ways after this. I don't think I'll be working with him again for the reasons I just stated. But Dr. Robert M. Price, I would love to work with him again. In fact, I'll bring him out again, and hopefully we can do another event. I get along fine with Bart Ehrman, with Dr. Bart Ehrman. Dr. Bart Ehrman just came out with another book called How Christianity Swept the World, or something like that, or The Triumph of Christianity, or something like that, where he talks about how Christianity became it's called The Triumph of Christianity, How a Forbidden Religion Swept the World, where Dr. Bart Ehrman talks about how Jesus became the figure that he became in current day society, and how Christianity became the religion of the Roman Empire, and how Jesus became like the figure that he was, how Jesus became like so important in the world, and stuff like that. And so Bart Ehrman has a new book out. As always, I always recommend his books on the New Testament, because I think they're top notch. I think they're top notch scholarship. So yeah, I get along with Dr. Bart Ehrman. I love to work with Dr. Bart Ehrman, but he seems very busy. He always tells me he's busy, so I'll take his word for it. I mean, the guy is writing books and teaching. He's still teaching undergrads, or back in Princeton, I think, and he's always traveling, giving lectures and stuff like that. But I get along fine with him. I'm a member of his blog, and I would rather deal with Bart Ehrman than people like David Wood and James White, because Bart Ehrman's actually a legitimate scholar, and he's actually pleasant to deal with, unlike Christian fundamentalists like David Wood and James White. So I'd rather deal with legitimate scholars like Robert M. Price and Bart Ehrman. But anyways, so I just wanted to give my thoughts on that. So me and Dr. Robert M. Price, we're friends, and he's a great guy, and we get along fine. So I'll definitely try to get Robert M. Price whenever I have the time. Again, I'll try to get him back, and we'll probably do another event. I'll probably do another event with Dr. Robert M. Price, but another event with Dr. Richard Carrier. With Dr. Richard Carrier, no, I don't think I'll do another event with him. Even though I don't care about Dr. Carrier's personal life, and I don't care about even though I don't care about his personal life, and just they're the two problems I have with are his fans, and and his payments and stuff like that. So I paid him, and we're all set on that. But having him again is probably not worth. It's probably not worth the time or effort or money bringing Dr. Richard Carrier to my YouTube show again. So I'm probably just going to part ways with him. And I wish him the best. I don't have anything personal against him. I'm kind of going in a different route. I'm trying to get Bart Ehrman and things like that. So, but having Bart Ehrman would be a lot more expensive than Dr. Carrier, because Bart Ehrman demands $5,000 just to leave his state and come to you. Whatever event you're doing, whether you're doing a lecture with him or a debate with him or whatever. So Bart Ehrman always demands $5,000 for any kind of speaking fee. But the good thing about that is he always gives that $5,000 to charity. So that $5,000 isn't going in his pocket. It's actually going to a good cause. It's going to charity. Unlike unlike other speakers where they just take whatever speaker's fee and they pocket that money. But Dr. Barterman actually donates that money to a good cause. He donates that money to charity. So I guess he's doing something good with his speaker fees. So that's something admirable about him. So yeah, this was just my 2 cents about the whole panel discussion with me, Robert M. Price, and Richard Carrier. I think it went well. I think there's room for improvements. I definitely learned from this experience. I definitely learned about planning events and stuff like that. And planning events are actually a lot harder than it looks, because it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money and it takes a lot of takes a lot of planning. You just can't do things like random. You have to plan things at least 2 or 3 months ahead of time. And I planned this event at least 5 months ahead of time, so I had plenty of time to make sure everything went smoothly and stuff like that. And for the most part, it did go smoothly. And the parts that didn't go smoothly, I definitely learned from that. You definitely need security at whatever events you do in the future, because in the age of Trump, there's all kind of crazies out there. We're not in the Obama days anymore. We're in the Trump days, and that really scares me. That Trump brings out that it really scares me, Trump supporters and stuff like that. And with the recent school shootings in Florida and stuff like that. It's kind of scary times we're living in, unsafe and scary times we're living in. So, we got to make sure we're safe and protected and stuff like that. So if you're planning an event and you're listening to this YouTube video, yeah, definitely get a security. It'll definitely help you out. But, the event went well, and I definitely learned from it. And, so you might be asking, well, when's the whole event going to be posted on YouTube? I don't know, to be honest. There are other YouTube projects there are other YouTube videos I want to post before I post the event with the whole event with me and Robert M. Price and Richard Carrier. Before I've been posting some random clips about the event. But the whole event I'll post it soon, and it'll be up soon whenever I have the time. So in the future there's some exciting stuff happening. So I hope to keep continuing this on and on. So, and I'd love to get Dr. Barterman, but it's going to take me some time to raise the money for his speaking fee. So but I definitely get along with him, and he's a fine guy. So in the future I'll definitely try to get Robert and Price back and Dr. Barterman to another episode of my YouTube show. And the whole episode, or the whole footage of my event with Dr. Robert M. Price and Dr. Richard Carrier, should be up soon. I don't know when, so just keep looking out for it on my YouTube channel whenever I have the time. Right now I don't have the time because I'm too busy working, but whenever I have the time, I'll definitely post it on YouTube. So that's my 2 cents. Thanks for listening. Slumps.